I don't start with an idea. I end up, kind of the first thing I do will be, maybe it's a color idea, or it's something that I saw on my walk to the studio, or on TV, or something I read about. Kind of whatever's happening in my life will make its way in. And I basically explore formal, I kind of work with the formal elements, color, shape, line, and use those almost as a structure to kind of hang the bigger ideas onto, if that makes any sense. I work a lot from memories, so if I'm working well, I'll kind of, I'll start the painting, I'm engaged with it, and as I'm working, I'm thinking about things, remembering things, and ideally something just kind of, like they reach a point where something just kind of clicks, and then I have a clearer sense of what it's about. I can talk about, this one on the right is called Blue Room, and it's about a room in my parents' house, sort of from, my earliest memory of it to present, kind of everything that's happened in this room kind of over the course of my life. And I'm interested with memory specifically in the idea that there's no neutral record of an event, that anytime you have something happen, or there's a memory of something, or you see something, the more time that passes and the more experiences you have after that, that shapes that memory. So this kind of idea of layering of experience and impressions, and even ideas, your ideas about the world change, and then that colors your experience. Someone else will have a different memory of the same exact thing, and we're standing right next to each other. So these are the things that kind of get me excited. And painting, kind of the most exciting thing for me is when I'm working and I will actually remember details or elements of something or something will come up that I haven't thought about in years. And then the goal is that some of this kind of emotional feeling will make its way into the painting and then come back out in some form, large or small. This painting is less specific. It's called Fifth Floor. And this painting, to me, is about kind of generally water, but the beauty of water, and then also the kind of fear and danger. Thinking about the tsunami, Hurricane Sandy, all of this kind of, it's so beautiful, just looking out here. I mean, when we came for the opening, my husband and I just stood in the parking lot and stared at the water for a while. But it's so beautiful, but it's so powerful, and it's scary and dangerous. And so in this one, there's this kind of dark, sinister shape, and then there's this beautiful blue, and then the lines become this sort of way of rationalizing it almost, or kind of compartmentalizing the feelings about it. And then these other two. This one on the bottom is called Flags and Tangles, and that one is about what happens to your brain when you have Alzheimer's. The stuff that builds up and essentially causes all the problems. So I think about, my dad has Parkinson's and dementia, so I'm also thinking about that a lot, and kind of what happens to your brain, what happens to your memories, the things that go and the things that stay, and who or what decides what the important things are, or what, with all these neurological things, nobody really knows. I mean, there's so much, they kind of people get clumped into these categories of neurological illnesses, but it's a spectrum, and it's all kind of vague.
Is this sort of, the central geometry in it, is that almost like a DNA strand, or it's just
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way.
Not necessarily. I mean, you use a sort of a grid or a webbing, you know, and those works and this work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a Terry Winters as far as that sort of jungle gym of structure.
Mm-hmm.
But this seemed to be, when I was hearing that story, is that a DNA or it's not? It's
Well, I think in a lot of my work, the line becomes a way for me to rationalize what I'm working with. Almost, it's a way of kind of
it's a painting. It's the plasticity.
yeah, or this
structure.
you know, there's all this kind of all these intense emotional components, but then here's this very rational divider or organizer. Almost, maybe it's a way of kind of controlling it somehow.
Very contained expression.
Yeah.
But within, in a way.
Yeah, it's sort of this, I was just going to repeat what I just said, but yeah, the kind of emotional, vague, these kind of amorphous memories, experiences, feelings, and then the containment or rationalization of them, trying to kind of understand everything.
Putting that down.
Yeah, I mean, the paintings are sort of, it's sort of a visual diary. I mean, it's, sometimes they're serious or sad, other times they're about my lunch or something, a show on TV or,
They're absolutely beautiful. I mean, I think you're not repeating any, palette keeps changing.
yeah, and
I think it's really
each
vital.
painting definitely has its own story, and each painting is about something specific. Well, some more specific than others. The room in the house versus this kind of larger feeling of unease about water.
And the little blue room. I mean, in a way, so I thought, am I on the left and right? Become mixed up. The blue room seems more like a green room with blue elements.
Yeah.
What was in that blue room?
Well, the blue room, that was my parents' room, and still is. It's not blue. It hasn't been blue for 20 years or something, but it was always called the blue room.
And that's their bedroom.
So that's their bedroom. Yeah. So it's
So it's a memory?
So it's a combination. It's a layering of memories from me being, I don't know, 4, sneaking down there trying to go into their bed and hearing my dad snoring and being terrified and running back upstairs to my father being there now and my parents being older and just this kind of conglomeration of experiences, happy and sad and everything in between.
How did you make the weight?
Oh, it's a roller. A paint roller.
It's very pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, I use rollers, I use squeegees, regular old brushes.
Are you using French linen? Canvas? What is it?
It's linen, yeah, on the oil ground. I love it's very traditional surface, which I love. I can't.
And this seems to have, as I noted, as hanging sort of a yellow brown.
Yeah, it's the paintings go through. Some of them happen fast, but often they end up being worked on over years and years and years. So it can take a while for them to sort of reach their final, whatever they're going to be. But yeah, so I tend to not, I scrape stuff down, but I cover up a lot and then just go back over it, and in that way kind of build up. And I feel that kind of mirrors, that's a very important part of the process, because it mirrors kind of what I'm thinking about and my whole kind of exploration in terms of, dealing with formal elements on top of these other ideas.
And your little ones.
Now the little ones, yeah, so these, So for a long time, I've been doing these smaller pieces, and now I'm getting back into more reasonably sized large pieces. But these, and this painting is actually on clayboard, which is, the small ones are often on clayboard, which is like it's a masonite panel, then with there's actually a very thin layer of clay on top of the masonite, so it's super smooth, very white, and it absorbs the paint. So it's almost, the first layer that goes down is almost like it's almost like a fresco or something, because it just sucks up all the paint and it dries right away. And then the end, the finish ends up being kind of a matte finish.
How do you set your canvas up? Do you have it on the wall somehow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the smaller ones, I mean, these all work, you know, it's such a different experience. I mean, I'll have one put on my hand and I'm very close to it. It's a much more intimate experience. Whereas the larger ones, it's more kind of your whole body relating to this, to the canvas.
And do you sometimes use them to go into a larger work? That's
You
based
know,
on, or they're totally
I always
independent?
need to do that. I always think I should try to blow this one up at least as a way to start a new painting, but as soon as the first mark goes down, it's the larger pieces, something else. Yeah. But as a way to start, it's great. I mean,
Yeah, each one is so dynamic. That's what I like. You know, it's like going into the Basquiat show at Gagosian. You know, he kept pushing every single. There was no repetition.
Yeah.
Yes, you could see it was a stroke, but the palette changed again and again.
mhm.
And that's what I think is very, very striking with your two works here.
Mhm.
I mean, it's what was selected, but it's wonderful to see the small works.
Mhm. Yeah.
And this one here, it's also this
That
one's
one
on
is
canvas.
linen.
And when did you do that?
That, I think it's last year.
And say with the symmetry here, it sounds like is what was on your mind there? Just out of curiosity.
Well, this painting, I mean, this is all about this pressure with the white against these lines. And what I've been doing a lot also are bringing these graphic elements in to go on top of the more amorphous, layered, kind of non-defined areas is really exciting to me. Like the bright colors, the contained, the clean lines become almost like a word or a sound or some kind of punctuation on top of against this backdrop. So that's kind of the action.
Because it's always nice to be able to ask a question, because when you're looking at work that's abstract, then of course it's abstract, there might be something else behind it,
Yeah.
and now it's the time. So,
Well, and this is always an issue for me too, and I'd love to hear your opinions on, I always title them, and I title them to give some suggestion of content, but I don't want to, I'm always a little wary of giving too much away, because I also don't want to dictate the viewers, what they're seeing. But it seems like there's two camps. Some people really want a way to relate to it, with abstract work. It's like, well, give me something to start with. Other people say, I don't want a title, I don't want anything.
and also when you view shows, but galleries in Chelsea versus museum, God forbid that you would have anything on the wall in a gallery.
Yeah.
You have to go to it. So, and then in a museum, of course, you've got your headset and you've got it on the wall. And what I love about William Wagner's show, The Traveller that we had here, was sort of this image field where people spent much more time for the first time looking at images because they would roll from half the wall, these giant panels. So that, and then finally you would read, oh yes, Kandinsky won. But they're spending more time looking at the image, whereas often if you go to a museum, you watch people at MoMA on Sunday, and I'm having a ball taking pictures of people that look like the pictures, but it's watching like how quickly they were looking at the picture, even with Monk's screen, there it is, taking a picture and then reading it. They spent more time reading about it than looking at it. And so that, I think there's a beauty in going into a show with no title, no text, and looking at the work. And on the other hand, if you do have a title, it is a handle into the work.
You call this one fifth floor?
This one's fifth floor, yeah.
But then you said it's about water, so that leads, well, if I didn't know it was about water, I would have read fifth floor and said, it's something at night, not water.
Yeah.
I got water out of it, but once you say it's about water, it seems to be, I'm trying to put fifth floor together with water, and I'm thinking it's about, like, refuge from water.
Well, the title for this one comes from a video that somebody took of the tsunami, where they're up high and they're actually, it's just everything being kind of washed away. And this, but yeah, so for this title, for example, fifth floor isn't going to give you anything.
Well, give me something, but I'm not necessarily sure.
Right, yeah.
Very obtuse. That's not very
Right, yeah.
But
That's
that's your point of like, do you put anything up at all?
And how important is it? I mean, I want each viewer to be able to have their own experience of it. And, I mean, ideally, you just want people to look at it and enjoy it and get something. Yeah. So that's.
I disagree. I think it's very important to have your title. So when we look at what you're projecting, I totally disagree with what you're saying.
But that's why there's two schools of thought.
Right, yeah.
But it's I think if you really have a message that you want to communicate, and you don't have to be subtle, then people need all the help they can get.
Right,
It's so easy to miscommunicate. I mean, it
you know,
depends if you're political, it depends what you're doing, right?
One of Jackson Pollock's most famous paintings is called One. Is that the first one?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and if you don't title them and you just call them number 256 or whatever, that's a title, and that's then you're associating yourself with this whole other school of artists.
So untitled.
So-
I think one can have fun with titles and use them as poems.
Yeah.
And
I do. I take notes as I work, and then they connect at some point.
But it is wonderful hearing a little bit about what was in your mind as you're painting them, as is in yours too, Peter. That, because we get so much more, they work on their own. And we see that we can read everything. When I first saw this, because I have to install it, and I think, okay, I'll put this one here. These look like pillows. Okay. But then this pink one helped me go into this color, so you're looking at it, it's abstract work. I did not read very much. Tablet like pillows. Because these are unusual shape. There's not this sort of geometric, grid-like, webbing, etc. And what is, these are, this, there was that how I read it. And that's someone that's looking at pictures all the time, and at the very base, you hear a lot of collectors speaking, and it can be quite sort of simple. And I don't think we should be afraid of that. But Elizabeth's work, when I could read the first one, she said, here, the work's over there. And I placed it next to this fairly figurative work, sort of figurative work going into abstract. But, I did not really read the pink work, so to speak, the one closest to us, as that figure sticking the thumb down, with that face. I didn't read it like that initially. And it took time for it to evolve. And so it's, I think one can go with one's gut, but then take time to look and, and that's why I think, the work becomes richer the more you know about it. It absolutely should stand by itself. I always believe that.
Not going on in the picture.
Yeah.
More than just what meets your
There's
first
more.
impression.
But it's like a piece of music, composition. Yes, you can listen to, Odell's or anything, but the more you know about the composer, the more you know about the piece, the show note, anything, could be anything, the richer it becomes. But yes, can it stand by itself? And that's the hope. You have something that is a vessel, and then what is it holding? Can sort of evolve. But Ruth, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, like in my own work, that yes, we want it to stand by itself, but I think what's fun is to sort of challenge the viewer by giving it more of a questionable type title. So you're maybe giving a little bit of a hint, but you're giving it a challenge, and that might keep them there a little longer, looking at what we've done.
To be subtle, not subtle, but to be challenging, as you say. I think it's so hard to communicate on a good day, regardless of what you're doing. There's can be, misinterpretation. It's think of the times how you want to be so direct and it's not easy to be direct, or you're reading an email that's way too direct. You're missing all the subtlety and tone. But so as an artist, and you're competing with a lot of other images of all of us, whether we're flicking onto various TV channels or internet or newspaper or billboards, we're surrounded by an enormous amount of imagery. So when you have that time to look at something and it's in a gallery, how it has to pop by itself. And you're looking at various things here, and where it's obviously the image, it's the surface, it's the scale, it's the referencing, and then it's finally, we can read here what the title is, but it has to hold by itself. It has to hold by itself, and that's a really, interesting line. I think that, that for that artist to communicate, not overdo it. I'm not going to overdo it and preach now, sorry. But are there any other questions?
Say, since you did explain it to us with the water and the tsunami, now I see this as isolation, and I like it better. But the reason that I said that in the title, when you're spending hours, it's your heart, it's your soul that you're painting, why wouldn't you want people to know what the hell you're doing? So.
No, but that's the challenge, and I think that's, it's just absolutely stunning work. Peter, wonderful, I think, Elizabeth too, and I so treasure the time that you've taken to come here and think about, it's also a time for you to sort of pull your ideas together, your thoughts and where you are going. And I think it helps you articulate also what you're on about to a broad audience, both artists and public, and it was small, but you have a lot of talent sitting in front of you, and it's very meaningful in what you're conveying and sharing with us. So congratulations to you. And thank you very much. So, please, we have an art cafe Friday from 10 to 11. Hot muffins, probably usually croissants, and it's a review of the art world, and it's chased by a blog called the Art Cafe blog that you can find online and as well. But invite your friends, and then the next lunchtime talk is when?
I believe it's
Can you check please, as everybody's here, and say who it is? And I think it's wonderful if you come to the other artists too. I'm sure you gained a lot from hearing.
24th.
And who's speaking?
It's going to be Yana Rico and Gil Rossman.
So that's Yana over here, with this sort of surreal buzz, and Gail Rothschild, this wall over here. So congratulations, enjoy, thank you for the